Welcome back to another episode here on the Hermit Pack modded Minecraft 1.10 server. Oh yeah. And today's the episode where we work on our storage system. It has been something we're working at for a while, but I keep getting distracted by other projects. Our storage system has needed an overhaul for a while, and it's actually come to that point right now as I've started to work on the area down below where the storage stuff is going to go, that we have run out of space in our system. So I can obviously add more space easily, but we need to do that properly, right? If I try and shift click in this steel block, nothing happens. And if we take out some gold nuggets and I try to shift click it in, nothing happens. And that's because that's stored in a quantum storage. So if we take something that isn't stored in quantum storage, like this limestone, you'll see that the steel block now goes in, and that's probably evidence. Aha, look at that. That's evidence that everything is filled up. However, there was probably a limestone that wasn't quite a full stack or had like 10 blocks left over. So that's how we've been able to put a few of those back in. So if we go into here, yep, you'll see 200 out of 200 on each of these. And basically there are things here that would be better off stored in a quantum storage unit. You can see some of those right here, you know, the diorite, the dirts, the andesites and the stone. All of those things need sorting out, especially cobblestone. And we've also got diamonds in here. Now they already have a quantum storage unit, and I'm guessing we need to set up the priority system to actually get those to the correct place. So there is a lot of work to be done because all of this is a little bit messy. But you could say one of the beautiful things about this mod is that even when it's messy, it works, you know. I can just add more of these over and over again and it will be fine. But we do want to do it the good way, the efficient way. So let's head down to the area down below. You might recognize some of the things that are going on down here because I've been live streaming and making changes. And we are overhauling this entire room. And I've been drawn to two different designs that are in front of me right here. And the main difference is really the Midori pillars. So they go up through the entire structure. From down here you can sort of see it a little bit. Those pillars right there go down to the floor below them, and then they come all the way down into this room. And as much as I want to tie in the Midori block to everything we build, it just doesn't fit the industrial theme of this area down the bottom here. And it also takes up a lot of space. So on the opposite side, what we've gone and done is remove the Midori pillars, and now we're left with this big box of space right here, which I think we can put to use. I feel like we can put something in this space related to the storage system that we're using on the server. So all of this that you see that's been left over from what we've done before is going to get torn out and rearranged. And if I've got anything else to say about this build is that it took a long time and it's a little bit more complicated than it looks. If we go up here, you'll see that these are actually chiseled bits on the ceiling, and we are alternating between 3 different textures. Kind of the same thing that we've done over here in the wall as well, just 3 different textured blocks that mix together extremely well. Alright, I have installed Optifine. If you notice a difference from now on, please do let me know. I have noticed a difference because whenever in this area I would break blocks and there would always be a lag spike. Now I'm going to try and break some more here, move my hammer around at the same time. No lag spike whatsoever, which is extremely cool. And I was thinking it might have something to do with chisel and bits. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff about, but it was only when I was breaking blocks would we get this stuttering. So that's gone, and before I installed Optifine I was messing around with other half slabs in the pack. I really like this texture. Unfortunately, the way it goes from light to dark, I feel like doesn't quite work for a floor. And then this is the ender bow boatites from the ends. Cool texture, but not very industrial. And I wanted to use those to avoid using chisel and bits again. But since we're going to use it now, because Optifine seems to address the lag issues, I can show you the iChisel, which is kind of like the chisel, but a lot better. So normally what you have to do with a chisel is drag things around from your inventory over there, and this is so much simpler. You click on the block, it shows you all the options that you've got, and then you can select one of them, and then you've got this little 3D thing right here which you can rotate around. So you can use this to see if the texture will be connected like that one, and then you can even change the shape as well just to give you an idea of what's going on. Extremely cool. So if you have a chisel, make sure you craft one of these iChisels, which is just a chisel, redstone and gold. Totally worth the upgrade in my opinion. That's interesting. There is a chisel all option here. So when you click chisel, it does the blocks you selected. Let's do this on the other one. Let's hold down shift. Aha, it chisels all of them. That's extremely useful to know. And down here, by the way, we haven't gone with slabs. what I've gone with is chiseling all the blocks individually. So around the outside here we have the same little tiles we got on the roof, the dark ones, and next to them just some other texture from chisel that's stone. And I think that's going to work. However, there's going to be a bit of a crossroads and a wider section in the middle here on each side, so I reckon there'll be like a third texture for the path that sort of highlights the main walkway, so to speak. But the next thing to do is to focus on what's going on here in the center. We need to build a little structure. I think it needs to emit a lot of light because this is very dark, and mob spawning won't be a problem down here in the future. We're going to install a beacon with all that RF that we've got that'll stop the mobs spawning, and you may have noticed that light is actually coming down from the top here. So what they are painted blocks. This is basically glowstone with a different texture, and it's got a really cool fan texture on it. However, that texture isn't on the top and the bottom, which is what I was going for when I placed it up there. So I feel like this thing has to emit some light, whatever it is going to be. So this is going to be a storage unit, and we'll come back to what these blocks are in a second. You're probably interested in this wire. So I noticed after a while that that lined up with what is above, and they both got the same block, which emits light as well, so that's all good. And then I remembered something Iskall was doing, which was from immersive engineering, hooking up these little blocks with wires, and I feel like the way it goes straight down, probably not particularly interesting. I wonder if we can then link this over to the other side. Let's go throw down some more of these. So making this stuff was a little bit confusing because there are like LV and MV and HV and Hemprope, and they all use different bits of metal. Took me a while to realise that the one that I'm using, LV, comes from copper. So we use copper wires to connect this stuff together. So let's put that to there, and then can we like double up here and go from there to there? Ooh, now that's heading in the right direction, isn't it? And then we've so got to put one of those on top of this. Alright, so this is storage for our system. We're going to put disk drives in here, and I'm deliberately not going to put in 64K disks. I'm actually going to fill these up with all sorts of different ones, so we have lots of different coloured lights when you come into this place and look at it. And then we're going to have some cables that go through and attach themselves to all of these in these spaces, and this one will be left empty. So what we shall do is simply fill it in, because I think where we're heading here is making it look like these little cables are actually connected to this thing as well. So we'd have something like that, and it will go over here. Oh, yes, that's much more like it. Cool. Although, I'm not sure they really need to come down to the ground like this, but that's certainly heading in the right direction. And by the way, this one right here, I think looks a lot nicer. Like, the colour of it really fits this. So, and again, the wire colour is a little bit bright for this room, so maybe we should invest in a different material. What one is that? That one was MV, and MV was made out of Electrum. And do I know how to make Electrum? Probably not. I don't know, I'll have to figure it out. Oh. Do you want to see a magic trick in Minecraft? Look at that. It's shorter than a whole block. Why is that? And if we look at the one on this side, we'll see it's bigger than a whole block. It's actually just an optical illusion. That right there is the edge of this texture, and it lines up so well with this. It looks like it's a part of the same texture. And it got me there for a while, so I had to start looking around, and then I noticed it. Look at how this side of the texture, the border is black, and then when we go over here, you'll see it's that one there, and I think over on this side as well. And now that I've spotted that, it's kind of annoying. It makes the texture look really odd. Like, you can see that line on the outside over here. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, my thinking was what we might do is have a couple of blocks here and then put our wire up a little bit higher, something like that. And hopefully it'll look like this is somehow part of what's going on there. I don't know. Maybe, oh, here's an idea. Maybe what we could do is hide a wire. Like, does this go through blocks? Because that would look extremely cool. Okay, so I'm out of wires. That means I've got to steal them. Oh, geez, how to get my wires back? Aha, we'll just break things. That's what we'll do. So can we have a wire go from there down to here? No. Ah, that would be really cool. Although it looks like it might attach to the underside of it. Let's remove the other blocks first. Okay, put it on... Oh, it popped off, did it? Alright, nah, it's probably not going to work, is it? You know, disk drives are pretty expensive to craft. There's a real, like, wormhole crafting going on here, and you really need to farm a lot of resources to do this stuff. And I've been putting in the disk drives, and there's no difference in the light. The light must represent something else on these things. Now notice how there's no disk drives up there. I believe that might actually just be a filter or something, because you get the item back when you place it up there, yet you can't put a disk drive in here, but then when you go away it's there and now it's not in your inventory. Strange stuff, right? I know, I know. Yeah, so it's probably a good idea to actually craft the bigger disk drives. Apparently it's a little bit of a pain to sort these out later. There's also like tons of options down the side here I need to look into. So they're all going to have the same light on the front, which won't look as interesting, unfortunately. So I put a lot more time into this room. It may look like not too much has changed at all, but I assure you plenty of things have. So yeah. Anyway, I was thinking what we'll probably do is have another one of those over on the other side, and then some other sort of storage module here and there, or maybe a power module or something that looks similar but isn't the same, because I think 4 of them repeated wouldn't be as interesting. Another thing that we can do is also just randomize where our disk drives are, which give it a little bit more of a unique feel for each one of these. So all of that's cool. But behind me, you may have noticed this bright screen right here. I've been playing around with RF tools. It has screens which you can hook up to machines and display all sorts of cool information on. You can also interact with it, use it as a button, and hook it up to an elevator. The elevator is up the top there, so we need to call it back down to the bottom. And down comes the block. Wasn't that incredible? Oh, it's so cool. Then we can jump on here, press the top one, and go all the way up to the top. Bam! Isn't that amazing? Now, as always, I like to do these videos in a way where I show you what to do. And since I'm not going to tear this thing apart, Okay, so you will need 2 elevator blocks, 2 screens, one of these screen controllers, and 2 screen buttons, right? The buttons are these things right here. They're a module that you put into the screen. So if I right click on this, you can see our module right here, and I probably shouldn't have taken that out. Apparently it's remembered everything about itself, and in here we can write what appears on the screen, like top, a little bit of a typo, and down, and you can change the colors of them as well, which is pretty cool. Like that. So lots of flexible customization going on there. Your blocks need to be powered. So this is the screen one. What was it called again? It's right there, the screen controller. And once you placed your screens down on the ground, you do need to click on this thing and click scan. So this is going to take power from your system, find the screens that are nearby. After you've scanned them, it's going to connect with them and send them power wirelessly. Now you'll also see there's a cable going over here, and that's powering both of the elevator blocks. Now you have one at the top, one down the bottom, and it's the block in front of it that it's going to move up and down. Now you've got to be careful because it will move other blocks of that type that are attached to it as well. When we first built this, I moved a whole portion of this down below, which was pretty crazy. I believe it can also go through blocks, but that might be a little bit awkward for the player. Why don't we test that here? So, do I need... Wait, did I... Yeah, I right-clicked by mistake. So let's go down. Let's place a block halfway up. I believe the elevator block will go through it, but we might not. So let's go back up again. Yikes, taking damage, but the block goes through it, you see. So that's certainly interesting. I was thinking, well, what if you use glass and you wouldn't take damage, but you'd probably get pushed off of the elevator. So, yeah, we have a screen at the top and the bottom. You need to put that module into the screen, right, and it will go into this space here. But what you need to do first of all is hold this in your inventory and shift click on the elevator with it so it gets linked to it. So the one down here is linked to the one at the bottom, I believe, and the one up the top is linked to this one. So how's this for our master corridor through the middle? And I was thinking this glowstone texture might go with it. Do you know what, to be fair, it goes with that texture, but it's just too much going on. And I noticed another one in here, which is our actual chisel. There we go. I love the preview here. I've always found the factory blocks to just be a little bit awkward to look at here, but now we can really see what's going to happen when it goes into the world. Now, this is a very similar texture that's more subdued, in my opinion, and I don't think that would work in here, which is why behind me there's also this. So we're probably just going to extend this around, right? And I painted these with glowstone. I think they fit in really well. Maybe there's a bit too many of them. Maybe actually that orange colour doesn't really work in here. We don't need to like throw a colour into this. I like our subdued like palette. That's the word that I'm looking for. I like the palette that we've got. So maybe we'll just put something else in there that's been painted with glowstone. So this has now been tidied up. It's like having another pillar, except it goes back a little bit, and also the gap here is 2 blocks instead of 3, which would look awkward, but I reckon that works. And I was going to put some machines and stuff on these walls over here. I don't know if we'll ever do that or need it for anything, but this is where this goes. So what I probably need to do now is clean up the screens. Up the top here, this has been tidied up with, that's a glowstone block that's the same as this one. Oh, and if we go down and then pop out to the, oh, I didn't see it. It kind of looks like it's not animated. Yep. That side of the block disappears. I put an animated block there and had a feeling that something funky would happen. Okay, yeah, so that's the elevator. We'll eventually build one on the other side as well, and I think this screen here needs to be made to look a little bit prettier. I think I just found a treasure trove of goodies, although maybe there's not too much good stuff there. Yeah, these have been left behind in some bags that have been in our storage system, and I wanted to grab one of these to move this. Got to shift click it and then move it over there, or... Say what? It swapped them around. That's not very convenient. And then it means we can put these in the middle here. Now these ones are connected where the other ones aren't, so they're not going to emit light because these ones have been painted with glowstone. And that's this room kind of finished. Look at it. I filled in all the gaps. We've made our walkway in the middle. I think this texture, now that I fly out, doesn't look quite as good. Actually, I do like it. It's just the yellow's a bit much. When you look at this corner of the room, because there's not this like empty space there, I don't know, it feels like that actually works. So I'm happy with that. That's going very good so far, but as of right now we're going to pop and look at something else. This stuff, by the way, is super cheaty. Once you paint it, it turns into an X-ray block so you can see into other parts of your base. That's actually probably useful. If you think of that as like a modded feature, you could probably find, you know, something cool to use that for. You're always short by just 1 block. Typical. I'll sort that out in a moment. Over here we've got a sand generator, I guess you could say. Well, it's not finished. Basically we have a cobblestone generator over here. The way this one works is it never removes the cobblestone. If you've got the water and lava each side, that's all you need there. And we've used this before in Mod Source and Asuminati. This is extra utilities, if I remember correctly. So we have our transfer node. It's got an upgrade for mining, which used to be a world interaction upgrade, and some speed upgrades. So basically that's a cobblestone generator. We then pump all of that into sag mills over here, and they generate gravel, sand, and flint. The flint you can actually put back into this slot, which I think increases the chances of getting flint and sand out of this. And you can also put gravel back into the top slot, which is something I did over on this side, although it's gone back to cobble, and you can get sand directly from the gravel as well. So this is basically a sand generator, and the reason I wanted to make one is because, funny enough, I know we're living in a desert, but I haven't done any more digging around here, so I haven't been picking up this stuff. But the sand is getting used for glass a lot, it's getting used for silicon and crafting, so we need to start generating it, but there is something else we can use it for as well. So let's take some of the sand out of these machines. There we go. If we plop this thing down over here, it's called a atomic reconstructor. It wasn't expensive to craft. When you look at it, you get some text and fancy stuff on your screen. Look at that, very cool. And it shoots laser beams. You saw it right there. Now what it will do, the things it shoots at, is change them to something else. It will turn sand into soul sand, which is something we need for our wither farm. Now it will do up to 3 at once. You can see that it shoots a lot further. If I put down a line like this, it'll do 3 of them, and then it will stop. So in order for us to turn this into something we can use, we need to build what we've got going on up there in the wither dimension, I guess we could call it that. And then we'll need a way to place the sand down that we generate, and then break it once it's been turned into soul sand, which will probably involve timing of some sort. It's going to be quite the challenge. So far it feels as if things are going very smoothly, and it's just occurred to me that 4 sag mills here is probably a little bit too much. We could always shrink down the amount of these because we can only make 3 blocks at a time every so often, and these things run very fast. So we've got mechanical users on each side. We've got our atomic reassembler over here. So the idea is we've got some that place sand and then others that break it. Underneath I need to place in some hoppers, which I have crafted, or I could use something from the mod pack, but I just decided to do this. So they will then pick up the items and somehow we will send it up to this machine here, which shouldn't be too difficult. So the timing of that bit is going to be a separate challenge, so I've just focused on this one first of all. I really like how you can mix the Ender IO conduits together. As you can see, these are powering all of the machines, and we've got item filters running through them. So somewhere over on this side is where we'll create our cobblestone generator to feed cobblestone into the first two of these. Aha, and I also got me some more item conduits, so I can put one over here. Now the idea is that two of them are going to reuse the gravel that we generate from all four of them. And that's because you can you can sag gravel into sand. So it makes the overall thing more efficient at generating items. So now we've got to figure out how do we tell it what to send where. And I think this can all be done with item filters. And I was thinking priority might come into play here, but probably not. You see, we can tell it only gravel and flint will ever go up here. Flint will go into this bit, gravel into that one, and that'll be good for those two. And I don't think what we could do, we could put flint in these ones as well, and then we could have this pipe go behind it to insert the cobble. Yes, that would work, because those don't mix together as far as I know. So then down below, I believe we have item filters basically everywhere. We're saying only extract these 3 items, which now that I think about it, they're the only 3 items that come out of there, so maybe that's a waste of an item filter. And then it will choose to send the the gravel and the flint back up top. That's where they'll always go. And then the sand will go over to the bottom bit because we've got a filter here. Sounds like we won't need priority at all, right? But it's a case of trial and error, I think. We've got to give this thing a whirl before we know. Okay, I've lost my way a little bit here. I have put a delay over the back because initially I thought what we'll do is we'll have a timer over here telling these ones to place, and then it will tell these ones to break. But when you do that with a pulse, it doesn't quite work. So then I thought, oh, you know what, we'll just leave it so... Oh, didn't I just change that? No, I changed it to a pulse. We'll leave it so it's always on, so it's always breaking something. And that's fair enough, but we also need to time it with this thing. So now I'm not sure what we've got to do. We have to place, then do this, then break. So our timer needs to start over here. This signal needs to go across this way, needs to activate this thing, and then these ones after it, which shouldn't be too much of a problem, but timing might be a thing. We might need more than one repeater here, so we'll see how it goes. This is all set up top, by the way, and it's been going for ages, and I haven't put anything else into it. So I think our cobblestone generator will need very little cobble, as this just seems to find endless amount of stuff to do with what comes out of this one. For a second there, I thought this would work. We're not using any timers really. Well, that side's on a timer. Also, this one has no sand yet. That's slightly worrying. So yeah, it places it, gets zapped into soul sand, and then the ones on the other side break, which is good, but every now and then it's going to get its timing incorrect and it starts to break the sand, which we should be able to see by looking in this hopper. Yep, there's some sand in there, so we do need to control this with some redstone. At last, the solution! I noticed this thing was firing just about every 5 seconds, so I set this thing to 100 ticks, and they didn't line up. They would go out of sync again, and then I accidentally right-clicked on it, and you can put it on redstone mode pulse, which is perfect, and that's the missing piece of the puzzle, really, isn't it? Because this thing's always breaking. You know, it gets a pulse, it places the sand, immediately goes into soul sand, and it's done. So the other thing, really, is to just sort of balance how all of this is working. We've got to pump a cobblestone generator into here and then make sure it produces enough sand, which I think it will. I think if anything what we're going to find is that the cobblestone will end up sitting here backed up because we've got 4 sag mills on the job. And then the other thing to do is to move these items up there. I've got a full inventory at the moment, but I brought with me some hopper ducts, and I'm thinking a chain of those going up to the top here will probably be a simple solution. It's just got to connect into this chest, hasn't it? We've already done this, so this probably still has some soul sand in because I got a lot of it. Oh no, it's all empty, but there's no skulls there. Does that mean when I turned this off last time I literally used the last bit of soul sand? Because otherwise these would have been placed down in front. So we are all up and running, and it felt like we really needed 2 of them running on cobblestone. And since then, this one has been active, but not the next one along. So this number doesn't appear to be ticking up. And it kind of looks like is this slowly going up, or is it... It's slowly going up. No. Or is it going down? It's going up. And it probably means that only 2 of them will ever be active at once. So I think actually what we probably want to do is put a third one. I think like 5 is probably going to be the optimal thing here. So in order to hook up another one, all we got to do is take gravel off of there, plug that in, and that's it. There you go. And then we'll throw in an extra speed upgrade here just to make sure that these things always have cobblestone. Now that means that we're producing more gravel overall, which means this has more work to do. And you can already see that starting to tick up, which means eventually the gravel backs up and slows the machine down, and it relies on one of them. So for that reason, I think we need a 5th sag mill, or it would probably be smarter to use priority now. So we would use a priority on this, and depending on if it needs higher or lower, we would then add a chest at the end which exports the gravel. And I actually brought this with me, yes, the Enderlink chest. So any excess gravel would go into here. So let's add a filter quickly, and I don't have any gravel on me, so we'll take some from this machine, and then we've got to mess around with the priority. So we chuck that on there, and this is probably going to be the last thing anyway, because I believe these work by, you know, if it comes from this one at the bottom, it's going to look to this one, then that one, so this will always be last, but then we've got to work with priorities. So let's put that on 0, and let's put this one on 1. In fact, no. Let's put that on 0 and put this one on 1 and see if it starts sending the gravel over here. So I'm just going to have to open this box and look into it. And I think the answer is yes, because there's gravel there straight away. And why isn't this stuff being imported into our storage system? Probably means it's full up again. Another observation, Flint has reached this machine, but not the last one. If it also starts to get backed up, eventually this thing could stop, so probably be a good idea to put Flint in this filter as well. Okay, this looks like a smart move. I've put in a double-layered capacitor on our gravel one, and it keeps getting filled up, so I think the 3 of them are keeping up, which means less items going to the end here, which is sort of good, I guess, but we could also go octadic as well, and then it's going to go very, very fast, use up more power. It's still charging up, that's good. And now the gravel might not be able to keep up, but that's as fast as it's going to go, right? And if it doesn't keep up there, I guess we could put a double in one of these cobblestone ones as well, right? And then we shouldn't run into any issues because of the way that we set up our entire thing. Excellent. Okay, so now we're probably producing sand at a reasonable rate. It looks like we're doing 2 at a time now. And look at that. That one is steadily filling up. So now I've just realized it also means that sand can back up as well. So we have to put a higher priority on this, and then we have to add sand to the filter at the top. So if ever these start to fill up with sand, because we're producing it very fast, then it will make its way up to the top here. So now is probably not the best time for me to do this, but I want to stand here AFK because that farm up there is running, creating wither skulls. This one down here is creating soul sand, and we're killing the withers in the middle. I think what I'd like to do though is speed this part up, because we do 1 wither at a time, and I think you can stack them together. It's just kind of worrying. So why don't we check this out together? I'm going to make it so that they spawn every 50 ticks, which is every couple of seconds. I'm not liking this already. We are stacking up the withers, but it's working. We're creating them. That's crazy. Look, you can see it place the soul sand even though there's already going to be a wither there. And now there's just a crazy amount of damage. It feels like something is bound to go wrong at this point. Another important thing to do though is to make sure that we are actually collecting the nether stars and they're not getting destroyed. They are blast resistant, but I'd still be a little bit worried. And now the amount of withers in there has greatly reduced. Why is that? I think probably what was happening is the soul sand was maybe getting destroyed by the withers. So we're back up to like 5 now. This is crazy! Killing 5 withers all at once. Feels like a zip crowd thing, if you know what I mean. Okay, and there it is again. Look, we go all the way back down to just having 2 and then having 1 almost. So something happens in the middle there, and I want to stay close and try and figure out what it is. We've been in this area for a while now, and it might be time to knock it on the head because I'm doing some redstone here. And often in redstone you can think of ways of doing things that are a bit more bigger and complex, and sometimes they can be simplified, but this is the best that I've got right now. So my idea is that we send in a series of pulses and we create loads of withers before they start attacking, because that's when things seem to go wrong. So we would need this thing on a larger timer, but it would create a set of pulses like this circuit does right now. At the moment, I don't think it would work because these pulses are very frequent, and there's also this 1 tick delay here, so the pulse needs to be bigger than just 1 tick. So I was then thinking, hang on a minute, we could possibly set all of these to 2 tick, and it might just work a little bit slower. Look at that, it does! Okay, so then if we set it all to 3 ticks, it'll probably be enough to work with what's around the corner. This is probably not the best way of doing it though in terms of compactness. So if you've got any suggestions, we could try and do this different. So what number did I set this to before? Was it 500? I think it was because I deleted a 0 off the end. So it's going to do its thing in a moment. Right, let's hook it up to this right here. Actually, it's because I'm holding down shift it places it on both sides. Yep, that like that. And we'll see if this thing works. Oh, here we go. Kind of looks like it's doing the job right, and now it's out of skulls. Really? Already? No? Why did it not do the skulls that time? Because there's loads of them here. Ow. That's interesting. The last one didn't get skulls. But either way, it looks promising, doesn't it? So when those die, it's probably going to create a few more, right? Because of the delay. Any moment now. There it goes. Excellent. Let's see what happens at the end. Huh. So the last one didn't go again. That is odd. Okay, I've sussed out the problem. The mechanical user can't place the soul sand quick enough, so it sort of doesn't quite line up right. But the thing is, we're spawning 4 withers in total. And how many pulses do we create here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not the worst thing ever that it leaves some soul sand behind, but it could definitely be run a little better. I also turned this thing off and... oh. Ah, no, wait, I've interrupted with this. I've had... oops. Oh, I've been knocked away. Okay, I only had 3 wither stars. If we put 3 in there, 20. 20 divided by 4. Yep, it's actually picking up everything. That's good to see. So it's been running for a while. This thing is doing great. However, we've hit another snag, which is the distribution here. It likes to go this one, then that one, then this one over here. And we're producing more skulls than we use in this farm. So eventually we'll end up with a backup up there, which isn't too much of a problem. We'll figure that one out. But until these are fully stocked up, it's not going to start putting them in here automatically. So for now, what I'm probably going to do is just drag a couple of stacks over to that side. I do enjoy this elevator. Let's press the button to go down. I haven't actually finished tweaking that yet, but all of this looks a lot cleaner. Although you've probably seen it like that. And I've got a couple of blocks I missed up the top. I've started work on this bit over here, but I've just looked at the time of the video. We're not going to be getting into storage this one. We'll have to do that next one, but we will build that down there. And I was thinking that in the opposite direction... oh! Oh, what's that sound? Yes, the wither dimension is now chunk loaded. So it's running around the clock. I'm the only person on. As soon as someone else comes on, I'm going to go over there and shut it down. So we are producing a lot of... nether stars. All I could think of then was netherracks. I'm like, that's not the word. Here we go. Let's go check and see how many we have so far. 239. Absolutely ridiculous. That is it for me this episode. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like. As always, thank you so much for the support. And I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.